Very good evening, everyone. So, today we are here to talk about thyroid and the diet and the supplements required during thyroid. I'll wait till the people join in. I'll wait for at least like 20 people join in and then I'll start. You can ask any questions you have regarding thyroid, hypo or hyper in the comments below, and I'll try to answer them in the end of the video. So thank you. So since a lot of you have already joined, so let's start, and we'll go a little slow in the starting so that a lot of other people can join. I'll first introduce myself. I am Megha Mukhija and I'm founder and chief dietitian at Health Mania. And at the end of this live session, in the story, we'll put all my details and my website wherein you can contact me in case you have any doubts. And I have my specialization is in autoimmune disorders, and thyroid also, like Hashimoto's is also an autoimmune disorder. So I'll just start with the basics of thyroid. So when we speak about diet and thyroid is not just one category, and we can not put everything under one thing. So thyroids are basically of two types. One is hypothyroid and second is hyperthyroid. The majority of you people are suffering from hypothyroid, and generally there is a lot of internet chaos and quick fix remedies all across going through social media for hypothyroid. But then thyroid are two different variety, and you should know which one you are suffering from. Is it hypothyroid or is it hyperthyroid, and accordingly act. Secondly, other thyroid disorders are also there, like thyroid cancer or other disorders as well, enlarged thyroid and stuff. So you should know which thyroid problem you have, and accordingly you have to deal with it. But here today in this session we'll be talking more about hypothyroid, but I'll just give you a brief differentiation between hypo and hyper because they are the most confused thing. And women are more susceptible to hypothyroid as compared to men, and globally 1 to 2% of people suffer from thyroid, and thus it is something that should be taken on a public health level and need to be taken care of. And I'll just start with the difference. So the main difference between hypo and hyperthyroid is, in hypothyroid you gain weight, in hyperthyroid you lose weight. But the weight you lose is not the healthy one. Don't think ki hypo ki jagah par hyper ho jata to better hota. No, the weight you lose is generally muscle and bone mass, which makes you very weak in the hyperthyroid. Secondly, hyperthyroid has a altogether different treatment for it. So it is also known as Graves' disease, and therein the remedy for it, the medical treatment for it generally requires surgery, because the thyroid gland gets enlarged, and there is overproduction of thyroid hormones, which actually gives them a lot of trouble, fatigue. So generally through surgery a part of it is cut down to actually control that. And then there is iodine radiation therapy given, and then there are medications for it, and then there are supplements for it. But we are not going to focus more on that because that can be covered up in a later session if there is a demand for hyperthyroid. Today I'm going to cover up the very, very hot topic, that is hypothyroid. Hypothyroid is where when people start gaining unnecessary weight, and even if they eat less, there is a tendency to gain weight. They feel cold all the time. There is morning sickness. Getting up from your bed becomes a big task. There's a lot of hair fall. There's a lot of hair thinning, and women are more susceptible to it. And for hypothyroid, generally the first treatment that is given is thyroxine, which is a hormone, and which is given when your levels are beyond the limit, wherein it can be controlled by via lifestyle. But I would always say lifestyle is a very, very important part when it comes to thyroid, because it's like a vicious cycle. You gain weight and you have thyroid and you gain weight. So it is a vicious cycle. It is hard to say that you gained weight because of thyroid, or you had thyroid because you gained weight and you had a bad lifestyle. So it is a vicious cycle. And to come out of it, to get to have the minimum possible dosage of the medicine, it is important that you have a healthy lifestyle. You take care of your diet, you take care of your stress levels, and every aspect of life of your life, you're doing workout, every aspect of your lifestyle needs to be corrected. So when I say hypothyroid and the symptoms I'm telling you, so I'll just briefly go ahead and describe one symptom. So if anybody who feels like out of those 8 to 10 symptoms I'm telling you, and you have like 4 or 5 symptoms, it is time that you get your thyroid profile done. By thyroid profile, I mean T3, T4 and TSH, or FT3, FT4 and TSH. And people who have thyroid, they should actually get their TSH levels every 3 months, and according to that, they should fine tune their dosage of their medication. It should not be like, you did your thyroid test, doctor prescribed you XYZ mg of medicine, and it's like 2 to 3 years and you are not getting your thyroid checked, and you are taking it, or you're getting your thyroid check and you're not getting back to your medical practitioner to revise the dose. Wrong doses can also lead to a lot of problems. So I'll just start with the symptoms. First symptom when we say with thyroid is constantly feeling tired or exhausted. So when you get up in the morning, generally when we get up in the morning, we feel energized because we have relaxed and we're ready for the day. But people who have thyroid, or who are generally initiating with the thyroid symptoms and are not yet diagnosed, they generally feel very weak and tired even after a good sleep, and they feel like going back to the bed. Then second is gaining weight. So when I say gain weight, they gain a lot of fat percentage. So even if they gain 2 kgs, it looks like they have gained like 5 kgs. Their tires coming here and there, and they look very flabby because they are gaining fat percentage and not muscle percentage. Thirdly, feeling cold. So their hands and feet are generally cold all the time. They feel a lot of, even if the weather is not very cold, they will feel, if it's 10 degrees, it will feel them like it's 5-6 degrees. So they generally feel a lot of chills going down their spine. Then there is a lot of weakness and ache, the joints are aching and the muscles are sore. So they generally feel that, and after workout, this actually gets more worse. So they feel muscle soreness more than what a normal person without thyroid might feel. And then there is a lot of hair fall. There is a lot of hair loss, and this is also a very prominent symptom of hypothyroid. Dry skin is another issue, but dry skin can be due to many XYZ other reasons also. But with thyroid, what happens is, even if you are applying any lotion or cream or taking care of your skin, even then that dry skin is like quite prominent. And one of the reasons for hair loss is dry scalp itself. So these two are interconnected. And then there is anxiety. So they feel a lot of, so with any kind of hormonal disturbance, you will figure out that people have a lot of anxiety. They have very low self-esteem, they have low confidence, because see again, this is interconnected. You're gaining fat, you're looking flabby, and this is a reason you have low self-esteem. This is a reason people get anxiety. So they are all interconnected. So this is one more issue. And then there is brain fog. So when I say brain fog, it is the ability to see through clearly, to make quick decisions. So if you have like 5 things in front of you and you have to choose one, the things are not getting very clear. So your decision making goes a little down with thyroid sometimes. And then very, very prominent feature which we figure out is constipation. So in hypothyroid, we figure out that there are a lot of people, like 70 to 80% people having constipation, unless and until they actually deal with the constipation with some sort of efforts, like they are very cautious about what they eat, the amount of fluid they have, the amount of fiber they are having, or some sort of natural laxatives they are having, they will feel constipated all the time. So these are the symptoms and then one more symptom which it's very specific to females is heavy or irregular periods. This is also interconnected with thyroid. So out of all these like 8 to 10 symptoms I have told you, if you feel that you have like more than 5 symptoms, it is time that you get your thyroid checked. And if you are on medication and still you have these symptoms, it is time that you take your lifestyle seriously and actually modify it so that you get the minimum possible symptoms due to thyroid. And actually that means your thyroid level is not in control and you need to bring it back in control. So these are the symptoms. The causes of thyroid generally is, one of it, sometimes it is autoimmune. So when it is autoimmune, it is coming through genetics, and yes, we can actually minimize how severe it comes to us, but yes, there's it is not completely in our hands to be free of thyroid in that case. Poor diet and lifestyle, I've already told you. Stress is also one of the factors which actually triggers the genetic hormones leading to thyroid, and other hormonal imbalances like PCOS, which is very common. Like 1 in 3 Indian women have PCOS, and this is also a very, very big reason wherein they first have like they have hormonal problems, and later on they have thyroid problems as well. So now coming to one pointer which I want to highlight on a very mass level, on a public level, and I do that on my page as well, and to my patients and clients as well, is salt. So when we say what sort of salt we are having, so we all know that in thyroid there is iodine deficiency. And way back in 1980s, there was a rule that was passed on, that the common salt which we have, which is despite of what socioeconomic status we are in, middle class, lower middle class, below poverty line, higher middle class, or whatever whatever poverty line category, everyone has one common thing, that is salt. So government made it mandatory to add iodine to the salt, because we were seeing a lot of people having thick necks and goiter and thyroid disease. It was outrageously coming in a very, very large population, and hence government thought of adding iodine and made it mandatory to add fortification of iodine to the salt. But then as time went by and the situation was in control, it was removed somewhere in the early 90s. But again the problem came back in very, very fast in a couple of years. Since then, again, the Tata salt you have, the common salt you have, is iodized salt. And it is the price range it is subsidized. Some part of it is going, some part of that amount is subsidized. The government has capped the rate, so it is not very expensive and feasible for everyone to buy it. But then now there is a trend coming of pink salt, black salt, and people telling that the common salt is not good for thyroid, or such sort of things coming up. So let me clear that iodine is very crucial, not just for thyroid, but for the brain as well. So for the cognitive functions as well, for the memory as well. You switch to your black salt and pink salt, and you just remove the common iodized salt, and within like 3 to 6 months you'll feel like your memories, you are losing out your memory, you're not recalling things well. You'll find a lot of things going haywire. And specifically for kids, we have to be very careful. They need a lot of iodine. So iodized salt is very important. So do not blindly follow people on YouTube or XYZ social media who have no credentials and telling you that do not use common iodized salt and switch to this salt. Do not go purely on those salt. Yes, you can use pink salt in your achars. Yes, you can use black salt on your raitas, but do not completely shun the common iodized salt, because iodine is very important, one thing. Second, using it in the right method is also important. So what we do is we generally add salt in the starting of cooking. Iodine is not a heat stable nutrient, so under heat it actually goes away. So it is important to add common iodized salt at the end of the cooking, so that with the cooking heat, it doesn't get evaporated and it doesn't get oxidized and goes away. Because again, with thyroid, iodine is important, and the only source of iodine for we people, not the only source, but the major source for vegetarians specifically, is salt. Because yes, seafood has an iodine, but other vegetables and stuff do not have a lot of iodine here in India, because our soil is not very iodine rich, and thus the whatever we grow here on it is not very iodine rich. So the only solution is fortification. Now coming to the other nutrients which are very, very important for thyroid. So when I have during this lockdown phase, we actually saw a lot of surge in thyroid cases, and trust me, I guess more than 150 people whom I've treated for this thyroid thing completely without medication, but their levels were like under 10. If it is over 10, then medicine is required along with whatever diet therapy we give you. So we did a lot of minerals. We actually focus on a lot of minerals and their diet and their lifestyles and their workouts. And within 1 to 3 months, their thyroid levels the TSH levels went down. But when I say thyroid, it is a disorder. It will be actually maintained as long as you actually do some efforts for it. You leave the efforts, you start being a couch potato, you just leave all the nutritious stuff you're having, it will definitely come back. It is not like a infection that we give you antibiotics and it is gone. It is something that needs to be maintained for a longer period of time, and to be sustained in the diet, and whatever treatment protocol you are following has to be a sustainable one. So now I'll tell you some sort of supplements and nutrients which are very, very important for thyroid. and foods which we need to avoid for thyroid, which I'll take later on, because let's talk about including things first and being a little positive about it rather than just shunning things out. So the things which are very important for thyroid is the first thing, which is the first step, is variety of vegetables. And it is very easy to add variety of vegetables. You can have vegetable juice, you can have mixed vegetable, you can have stir fry vegetable. Try and include a lot of variety of vegetables. You can add a lot of variety in your salads. Why just stick to cucumber and onions? Let's add some tomatoes, red bell peppers, carrots, beetroots, and make a nice salad out of it. Sweet corns. So you have to be sure that you're having a lot of colorful vegetables. That actually takes care of a lot of spectrum of nutrients, and which helps your thyroid in return. So variety of vegetables is number one. Variety of fruits is number two. So try having like one or two different fruit. So try having like banana in the morning, then apple in the evening. Why just have one fruit and constantly have it? Try and include a variety, or maybe a bowl of fruit chaat will be also a good addition. So these are the two basic, the basics of the pyramid which we need to take care of. One is variety of vegetables, another is variety of fruits. Now coming to other nutrient and being very, so this is generic statement. So now coming to very, specified treatments. So in the specified treatment, it is selenium. So our thyroid gland stores 70% of the selenium. So, deficiency of selenium and, toxicity of selenium, both ways, actually troubles a lot. So selenium is a very, very important nutrient, but if you are taking it via supplement, it has to be prescribed by a doctor, seeing your current diet status and how much selenium you are getting via diet, because selenium is something which is, very crucial when we say treatment, dealing naturally with hypothyroid. And there are a lot of foodstuffs which have selenium. So I'll start with most of the vegetarian ones I will mention, because like a lot of people are vegetarian and it is very easy to accommodate vegetarian stuff and nuts in your diet. So the richest source of selenium is Brazil nut. So Brazil nut is basically a nut which has a taste of more like walnut and peanut combined. It's a long nut, it's a big piece, it's not a very small nut, and only 1 to 2 pieces are recommendable as per your situation and as per your medications, which your qualified dietitian or doctor can help you with. And selenium, the selenium in Brazil nut, 1 piece is 150% of the recommended dietary allowance. So it's a very, very rich source. 1 piece is like a very, very rich source of selenium. So you can include Brazil nut for selenium, and it helps a long way. And since it is only 1 piece, you just have to eat 1 piece any time of the day. It is very convenient to have it, but it's not the end. So since Brazil nut is a little expensive and it's not very easily available, you don't have to run behind only Brazil nut. There are other sources as well, which I'm telling you, but they are not as rich as Brazil nut in selenium. Other sources are carrots. So maybe you can easily accommodate like 2 carrots, like in salad or in your pasta or in your poha in your diet. Cashews is another rich source of selenium. And I always tell everyone who is suffering from thyroid, make cashew your best friend and do not leave cashew like ever. As long as you're fighting with thyroid, your medications are going on, or even if you're not on medication and you saw one slightly borderline value, make sure that you include 5 to 7 cashews, or maybe up to 10 cashews daily. And even if there are people telling you cashew has cholesterol, cashew has no cholesterol, it's a plant-based item, and no plant-based item ever has cholesterol. Yes, it is a little high calorie than other nuts, but then the benefits are like, they actually just shun away the calorie thing. So it is basically 8 calories per nut, per cashew, and which I don't think is more. You do not think think twice when you're having a biscuit or a cake or a cookie. Then why think for cashew? Cashew is very, very important in case of both PCOS and hypothyroid. Paneer, white lobia, the white lobia, the black-eyed bean also, which we call internationally. So it is also very crucial and very rich source of selenium. So in case you are not having, a Brazil nut and not having the accessibility to Brazil nut, maybe you can indulge in carrots, cashew, paneer, and white lobia in a method wherein they are in your diet on a constant basis. And another source of selenium is banana. But with banana, I tell everyone, have it daily when you have thyroid, because with thyroid, generally we have the tendency to feel puffy, to feel bloated. And banana is a rich source of potassium as well, and therein this is the reason you'll feel very light when you have banana. So you'll find, since the potassium will actually make you get rid of so yes, I'll answer all your questions later on in the last. The potassium will actually help you feel lighter and get rid of all the bloating you have. Then the other nutrient is L-tyrosine. So since we are live on And and Me page, and they have a tea, Thyro Tea, and wherein they are focusing on these nutrients only, L-tyrosine and selenium, but they are, you know, focusing more on herbal methods and using, you know, Ayurvedic, you know, herbs with it. But what I'm telling you is natural, you know, natural food items, and you can combine both and have it. And maybe when we are dealing somebody with one-on-one consultation, sometimes we do write allopathic supplements for the same, which have literally no side effects. So you can use a combination of all these three things, or maybe, you know, whatever is customized and specialized for you. So with L-tyrosine, the natural sources can be almonds, pista, chia, and sunflower seeds. Again, these are very easy to accommodate in your diet. You can maybe start your day with a few almonds, or maybe end your day and have almonds in the post-dinner snack. Pista is a lovely fat burner, and I know all of the people having thyroid have something, you know, something about weight gain, and they're always cribbing about, you know, constantly fluctuation of weight. So include pista because it's a natural fat burner, and it is very, very low in calorie, and it is very satisfying actually. So when we have nuts, generally the, you know, tendency and the craving for salt never goes away, but with the like 10-15 handful of pista, generally the salt craving also goes away. The munching sound and the snacking and crunch we require during our snacks is also sorted out. So we can definitely include pistachio as a snack in mid-morning or in evening to your diet, and it will actually help you with the L-tyrosine that is required for the thyroid, and will also keep your cravings at bay. Then zinc is also a very, very important nutrient which activates your TSH. So once your TSH is activated, it actually triggers, you know, your brain, it actually triggers your gland to, you know, take care of your hormonal profile, and, you know, balances all the levels. So zinc is one of the very important nutrient. Nuts have a lot of zinc, green leafy vegetables have a lot of zinc. So if you are ensuring a lot of variety of fruits, vegetable and nuts in your diet, be sure that you'll be getting zinc through your diet as well. But in some special cases wherein diet is, you know, people are skipping meals, or if we see there are not a constant intake of nuts, we do generally give, you know, in the initial phase of the consultation, we do generally try and give zinc as a supplement for a shorter period of time. Or if we see there's a, you know, the levels are spiking too high, then also we take a little bit of supplement support initially. But yes, gradually we want them to, you know, manage everything via natural sources and not via supplements for a longer run. And then there is another more very, very important nutrient, that is vitamin B complex. So vitamin B complex, you know, it's a huge family, and we do get vitamin, and it's a water soluble nutrient, so you need to take it on a daily basis. So when I say vitamin B complex, again, if you have a balanced and, you know, variety-full diet, you are generally getting all the nutrients via diet itself, and the B complex is covered. But then there's one, you know, vitamin B nutrient which actually is a little haywire in diet, is B12 in the vegetarian diet specifically. If I say, I do find a lot of people with the non-vegetarian people also having B12 deficiency, but with vegetarian it's like 65 to 70% of people are having vitamin B12 deficiency, because people are not taking daily as they used to take. There are, you know, a lot of reasons for the same, you know, the purity issue or the quality issue and stuff. So B12 is something which, you know, most of the vegetarian people are lagging, and for thyroid, B12 is super, super crucial. And not just for thyroid, for all the neurological functioning, it is crucial. So if your neurological, you know, balance goes for a toss, it is very difficult to, you know, get it back. So B12, most of the cases we require, you know, we do have to give supplement therein, because, you know, if it is deficient, no matter how hard we try, we are unable to cover it via diet. So sometimes we do take support of supplements when we say B12. So whenever you get your thyroid level check, ensure that like once in 6 months or once in a year, you also get your B12 levels check, and keep a tab on it, because it needs to be in a good range to actually help you fight with thyroid. Then another nutrient that is crucial for thyroid is calcium. So anybody who is on thyroid medication, it is very, very important and crucial, and you'll find doctors writing it. is calcium supplement or a diet which is rich in diet very very rich in calcium. So the thyroid medication you take, it has a side effect that it actually leaches out calcium from your body and you get weak bones. So it is important that you include calcium supplement or a diet rich in calcium. So again, so there is a limit to what sort of nutrients a diet can provide. Sometimes we need mega doses and that diet cannot provide that mega dose. So therein there is a requirement of calcium supplement, but again, do not pop in calcium supplement without the advice of your medical practitioner, because it can do more harm than good. It can give you kidney stones and stuff. So you should be peculiar about which calcium salt you're taking. So there is a lot of calcium salts, calcium citrate, calcium carbonate. So you have to see the safety for the kidney stones. So calcium citrate is a better one. You have to actually get your dosage designed as per your requirements by speaking to your medical practitioner. But yes, calcium supplement is important, and for calcium supplement, vitamin D is important. So vitamin D and calcium goes hand in hand. So both of them are important, and vitamin D is important for everyone, be it you have thyroid or you do not have thyroid. This is something that we are taking as supplements in the complete across the globe. Everybody mostly as of now is taking via supplements. And the natural source of vitamin D is sunlight, which due to urbanization we do not get a lot of sunlight exposure due to tall buildings and stuff, and getting up late and the lifestyle we live in. So calcium and vitamin D goes hand in hand. And another nutrient which is important for thyroid is magnesium. So as I told you, with thyroid there is a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of weakness, there's morning sickness. So magnesium actually helps you with energy. It helps you with bone, because vitamin D is absorbed only if you have magnesium, and most of the people lack magnesium in general. And it helps you with good quality of sleep, and when you sleep better, you wake up better and you are energized. So there are a lot of natural sources for magnesium. The tulsi leaves are a rich source of magnesium, so you can have some sort of tulsi oil drops or tulsi leaves in water. Okra, bhindi is also a rich source of magnesium. Mint is a rich source of magnesium. Pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, watermelon seeds, all of these are rich source of magnesium. Green leafy vegetables, most of them are rich in magnesium. So make sure that you are having all of these stuff. And if there is a sort of thing which even after focusing on your diet, you are struggling with, you are having troubled sleep, or you are having low energy, or you are having pains, some pains here and there in the knee or in the arm or in the shoulder or in any joints, then maybe we can even supplement magnesium in that case. So these are the important nutrients. And one more dietary tip with anybody with thyroid is start your lunch with, or end your lunch with, maybe half to one bowl of curd with a bit of sugar to it, a little bit of sugar to it. Though we generally recommend to cut down sugar in thyroid, but this curd and sugar thing acts very good, because it's a natural probiotic. Curd is a probiotic, and adding sugar to it enhances the probiotic effect. And then with this curd and sugar thing, actually what helps, it helps you to assimilate nutrients better, to absorb nutrient better. So with the upper middle class people, what the problem is, we are having everything, we are having all the nutrients, but sometimes due to stress and stuff, the main issue is that we are not absorbing it well. So ensure that you have a lot of curd and sugar and other natural probiotics like achar and kefir, kombucha. And there's a fresh achar which is made using rai and pani, kanji. So try including all these stuff in your diet. So sometime in the afternoon or any part with the breakfast, or rice kanji, so that you actually absorb the nutrients from the diet as well. And it's not just about eating, it's more about absorbing. And now in the last, I would like to focus on what to avoid. So when we say what to avoid for thyroid, there's a long list, and everybody will be telling you different item. But the basic concept, what we have to focus is basically food which are goitrogens. Goitrogens are food which actually interferes with your iodine absorption. And in the starting itself, I told you that the iodine is the iodine we consume via salt is a very important stuff for thyroid. So the goitrogens actually interfere with that, actually reduces the iodine absorption, and thus the thyroid triggers more. So there is a long list of the things which I'm going to share, but I want to clear it in the starting itself. We do not tell you to completely ban those stuff. We just ask you to reduce as much as possible. and we actually ask you to do not consume everything in a day. So if I tell you like 10 item list of 10 items, I would like prefer that do not take those 10 items together in a day. Maybe you had one today, maybe you can have another one tomorrow, and reduce the portion sizes for the same. So the things which you need to avoid with thyroid are soya bean in all forms. So be it soya bean oil, be it soya bean chap, be it soya bean chunks, in any soya bean ka atta, in any form you need to avoid soya sauce. You need to avoid soya bean, number one. Then second is over, the cruciferous vegetable family: cabbage, cauliflower, spinach, broccoli. So these are like cruciferous family. Again, they interfere with iodine. Mushrooms, all the millets. So anybody who has thyroid and is having a multigrain roti thinking, oh yes, we'll lose weight with this multigrain roti. No, you're not. Adding those millets might do you more harm than good. And pearl millet is like a complete no-no, because even after cooking, we have seen in some medical researches that it interferes with thyroid. So ensure pearl millet is a complete no. And the other vegetables which I told you, cooking actually reduces the goitrogen. So if you're making gobi ka parantha, maybe you just put gobi in the boiling water for some time, and then, or maybe cook it like a sabzi and then put it as a stuffing in the parantha, because parantha mein there's not proper cooking that goes on with the cauliflower. But if you're making sabzi out of it and having it like once in a week, that's fine. But ensure that you do not overeat in the quantity. You're not having it very frequently. You just cut it down so that it doesn't interfere with your thyroid levels. And sometimes too much supplements also actually triggers the thyroid level. So having very, very high dose also gives you a lot of trouble. And I see one question coming up. So is it safe to have wheat in thyroid? Yes, there's a lot of, there's a lot of scientific researches also that are like very biased and say that wheat is not good, again, because since it is a goitrogen and stuff. But I would say wheat is a very staple in North Indian diet, and removing wheat actually makes us eat more rice and millets, which actually gives us more trouble. So yes, wheat is safe, but ensure that all 3 meals are not wheat. Maybe you can have a little bit of variety in all in your meals. Maybe you can have dal chila in one meal, because again all the pulses are very good source of all the nutrients which I was telling you. So maybe you can have dal chila or something based on dal in one meal, wheat in 1 or 2 meals, and not in a very high quantity. Of course, like 1 to 2 chapati is absolutely fine. So that is absolutely safe. Do not shun wheat completely, because again it will make you you will lag in B vitamins. So again you'll be in vicious cycle of doing one good thing, you'll be doing 3 bad things. So wheat is absolutely safe. You can have it, but ensure that you have variety in your diet, and all 3 meals are not like 2 to 3 chapatis in all 3 meal, and there is no variety at all. Try and include variety, try and include more vegetables, and that will be better. And then egg is something I want to clear about egg. So generally people with thyroid are running about weight loss. So whenever they have egg, so if they are vegetarian or non-vegetarian, they actually take out the yolk and throw it away. But that yolk has selenium, that yolk has L-tyrosine, that yolk has zinc, B vitamins, magnesium, everything. It's the nutrient powerhouse of the egg. So if you are removing yolk, you are actually, putting away all the nutrients which are required for your thyroid. So I would say do not eat like 5-6 eggs, but have like 2 eggs in a meal. But include that yolk. Do not throw that away, because it is very important when we say thyroid. If you're non-vegetarian, fish is also a very good thing to have with thyroid. But then again, if you're not if you're vegetarian, then I would say that it's not very important that you turn non-vegetarian for it. So there's nothing like that. There have been like more 80% of the sources which I've told you is vegetarian, and you can focus on that. And if anybody tells you that do not have dairy because you have thyroid, or do not have dairy because you want to lose weight, do not blindly listen to them. If you are allergic to dairy, that's a different topic altogether. But dairy has iodine, natural iodine. So, and dairies are, the milk and milk products are very natural source of calcium as well. So I think it is very crucial that we have dairy products in our diet. Again, there has to be a limit to it. So maybe like 2 serves of dairy products every day is like fine. So the problem comes when we have like 1 liter of milk per day. Yes, overdose of anything is bad, be it a healthy thing as well. Same with Brazil nut. If you go about overdosing it is very, very toxic. Selenium toxicity is like very lethal. So you have to take care that if I say 1 nut, it's only 1 nut, and that only after you actually speak to your doctor or your dietitian about it. And the most crucial part, which every thyroid person generally tend to generally skip, is exercise. Exercise or walk is very crucial when we say management for thyroid. Why? It is not because you're burning calories due to it. But, exercising is good for your mood. It elevates your mood. So the crankiness reduces. We sleep better with making an exercise regime, and making a routine always feels good. So if I have a routine of like doing 20 minutes walk per day, let's start small initially, and by the end of the day, if I've done that walk and I take in my planner that I've done my 20 minutes of walk, it actually feels good. It actually boosts even if you're not losing a lot of weight with that 20-minute walk, you'll feel good with your body. You'll feel that you're doing something good in that aspect. So I think exercise, be it like whatever time you have, like 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, do indulge in it. Do not make excuses with yourself that mere paas to time hi nahi hai. Do it at like 12 o'clock in the midnight, I'm okay, but do some sort of exercise, which is very, very important. And then I can again see one question. I have very dry skin and hair and brittle nails. What can be the reason? So if you're suffering from thyroid and you have all these, I already covered up in the starting of session that these are the symptoms of thyroid, the brittle nails, the skin and hair issues, dry skin. So once you focus on your thyroid and you change your diet and lifestyle, you include these nutrients, and specifically the B12 family, you'll definitely feel the B12 and zinc for nails, you'll definitely feel a decline in all these symptoms. And if you try and put a lot of creams over it, it won't help in the longer term. Jab tak wo 2-3 घंटे cream lagi rahegi, you'll feel good. As long wo cream wash away hogi, you'll again feel that the skin is super dry. You have to first focus on all the nutrients, and then this will be sorted automatically. Neck darkness and underarm darkness is a result of thyroid. So the neck darkness on the nape of the neck, the back side of your neck and on the knuckles, is not due to thyroid, it is due to insulin sensitivity. So charming desert rose, what you can do is you can get your insulin fasting and PP, serum insulin fasting and PP, and see if it is elevated, because that darkness on the nape of your neck, the back side of your neck, and it is a darkness which will not go with scrubbing or washing. It is different form of skin blackening, and it in advanced form it is seen on the knuckles as well. So if you have that, it is time for you to get insulin also checked. Thyroid is a hormone, insulin is also a hormone, and we see sometimes a combination of both comes in. So get your insulin fasting and PP checked. Any other question? I have missed the previous question, so if there are any other question, you can just repost them and I'll be happy to answer them. Is vitamin D deficiency bad? Yes, it is very, very bad, because vitamin D is it's a nutrient, but when it goes into the body, it acts as a hormone. So vitamin D is crucial for calcium absorption. Calcium is important for thyroid. Vitamin D is important for insulin sensitivity. The blackening question which came along, most of the times vitamin D deficiency leads to insulin issues, and vitamin D is very crucial when we say diabetes. Also the blood sugar, to monitor the blood sugar, if you want to have comparatively lower blood sugar, vitamin D is crucial. So vitamin D is a very, very crucial nutrient, and you cannot and it is very vitamin D makes you cranky. It is something, deficiency of vitamin D is proven that it leads to depression. And also you've seen all this during this COVID thing. Vitamin D deficiency people, there was a more hospitalization rate for people who were deficient in vitamin D. So vitamin D is important, and supplement is the only thing therein, but do not take your supplements or yourself. I always say supplement has to be prescribed by a qualified dietitian. Qualified dietitian means there's a lot of quackery going on. People do 6 months course and claim themselves to be a dietitian. Dietitian is somebody who do their 5-year, 7-year studies just like a doctor in the field of nutrition. So it's BSc and MSc. And if somebody who is doing short-term courses and claiming themselves to be a dietitian and giving you supplements, please do not take that, because supplements are potent and they can have a long side effects if you take them wrong. My thyroid come and goes as I have PCOS. So any particular reason behind it? So thyroid coming and going, initially I told you, it's not an infection. I give you an antibiotic and you get rid of that infection. Thyroid is a disorder. You have to manage it. So it comes and goes because the kind of restrictions you are doing it, or the kind of precautions you are taking, it goes haywire. So you exercise, it is in level. You stop exercising for a long while, it comes back. So you have to do some sustainable changes to your diet and your lifestyle, and it will be better. So there's since I am reading, and there are a lot of questions related to pregnancy and thyroid, and there is I can see there are a lot of questions related to calcium supplements. So what I'll do is maybe, so my Instagram handle is mmhealthmania. You can go there, and I'll try and post all the sources, all the symptoms in a blog maybe, or in a graph, in multiple graphics in the coming week. So all the symptoms I'll cover up, which I told, all the goitrogens, all the avoid food items I'll mention there, all the food items I'm recommending I'll mention there, all the nutrients which I'm telling you to focus on I'll mention there. So you can follow me there, and I'll ensure that you get all this information in the coming week on my Instagram handle about the same. And if you have any question, which I know I have missed a lot of questions here because they are all running, so if I have missed any question, so I'll make sure that if you DM me or you comment on those pictures, I'll positively answer them in like 24 to 48 hours of you asking question. Is it mandatory to take thyroid? I just missed the question. Sure, I'll save the live for sure. My Insta ID is mmhealthmania. I'll just write it in the comment for you people. So I just wrote the Insta ID in the comment, and also after the live, the team will be sharing a graphic with all my website details and my contact details, so that if you have any questions, you can definitely ask me or consult me later on. Diet for PCOS along with thyroid is almost the same. The question which just came upon, it's almost the same diet. There is not much difference, because you need these minerals for PCOS as well. But then there are 2-3 more things which we need to take care with PCOS. So since it is a thyroid session, I would prefer answering it separately in a PCOS session, or you can DM me and I'll be happy to answer you. Okay, so you people are writing your levels and then asking me question. So I'll be very specific. If you're without medication, if your thyroid is below 10, your TSH level is below 10, generally diet and lifestyle and monitoring the every 3 months is something is available. You can monitor your TSH levels every 3 months, and you can do diet and lifestyle changes and see most of the time below 10 levels are rectified by diet and lifestyle itself. And if it is above 10, then yes, medicine is important. And if you're already taking thyroid medications out of the blue, you cannot stop it. You have to do diet and lifestyle changes, bring the level to a very safe limit, and then maybe try reducing your medication with the permission of your doctor, of obviously not not blindly. And your dietitian cannot reduce your thyroid medication. It has to be your endocrinologist doing that, along with it's like a teamwork. What to eat for weight loss? So there is nothing specific for weight loss. It's like input and output. You give a command to your laptop, and there is a printout. So whatever command you give, ye page print karo, wahi printout mein aata hai. So if you want to lose weight, you have to actually see what you are putting it in your body. Whatever you put in your body is something, output will be the same. If you're putting calorie laden stuff, and if you're starving yourself, the output will be same. Maybe you lose weight, you're starving, but you'll have a lot of nutritional deficiencies and health disorders. So basically input and output is the game. So, and also with thyroid, there are a lot of people going XYZ keto diet and this sort of diet. Trust me, if you want to lose weight with thyroid, I'm telling you, sustainable diet. Sustainable diet is a balanced diet, जहां आपको कोई रोटी खाने से मना ना करे, जहां आपको कोई राइस खाने से मना ना करे, पर आपको हेल्प करे कि this is the safe limit. ठीक है? So I tell you, अगर for example I tell somebody कि for you the safe limit for having chapatis is 3. You have one in each meal, or 2 and 1 in each meal, and your another meal could be dal chila, dokla, or something like that. So ensure that you are sticking to your balanced diet, sticking to your native and cultural foods and normal roti sabzi, because doing keto or doing XYZ, super hard stuff, ye short term ke liye chal sakta hai. Long term we cannot do that. You cannot be without chapati for a long duration. You cannot leave milk for a long duration. You'll definitely crave that tea or some sort of dessert with it. So try and make a balance. And for sugar as well, do not go completely zero on sugar. Maybe limit it to like 1-2 spoons, and like direct wala sugar, like hum kuch milk pee rahe hain, humne usme sugar dal diya, tea pee rahe hain, humne usme sugar dal diya. And maybe we can avoid the biscuits and breads and such sort of stuff. What we do is we generally फील हमें दिख नहीं रहा बिस्किट में शुगर है, हमने खुद नहीं डाली तो बिस्किट सेफ है, बट अगर मैंने चीनी चाय में डाल दी तो दैट इज नॉट सेफ. सो ये एक प्रॉब्लम है विद द माइंडसेट कि हमें जो नहीं दिख रहा वो हमें लगता है कि उसमें वो चीज़ है ही नहीं. सो ट्राई एंड मेक अ हैबिट ऑफ रीडिंग लेबल्स एंड चेकिंग आउट कि आपकी एक सर्विंग साइज में कितना शुगर है. And 1 teaspoon sugar is 5 grams of sugar. So if a packet says 30 grams, that means 6 spoons of sugar. And trust me, all the biscuits have like 35 grams of sugar. So, we can avoid that biscuits and maybe replace, the stuff we need to have with your tea and coffee. Could be popcorns, could be makhanas, could be something healthy, small bowl of, leftover poha, or a very, puri size small ajwain parantha. So ajwain is also a good source of magnesium. So something like this, which is healthy, which is not very high in calories and which is fulfilling as well. Consuming coffee is okay in thyroid. Yes, it's absolutely okay. It's not a problem. So tea and coffee are okay, but limit the total consumption of tea and coffee to like 2 cups per day. Do not go like 8-10 cups per day. You do not have to give company for tea and coffee to everyone. Ensure that you're having like 2 cups or maximum 3 cups per day, and it is absolutely fine if you have tea, coffee, black coffee, whatever. Any other question which I might have missed out? You can just ask me again. So I'm there for like 3-4 more minutes, and then this live session will be automatically exited because Instagram only allows for an hour. Any other question if you have and I might have missed, please repost and I'll answer. So I think most of the questions have been answered. The calorie question which came upon, calories are something very, very customized thing. So we actually take, a complete detail of what activity you do, what lifestyle you have, what family history you have, and then we determine the calories. Okay, so there are a lot of questions coming in, but I think I won't be able to answer them in the next 3-4 minutes. So I'll just conclude, and you can, feel free to. I have already shared my handle. You can feel free to comment and ask all the questions. This Instagram live video will be saved for replay, and you can watch it later. And all the things I've told you, I'll try and put them in a blog or in a few graphics, and I'll post it on my Insta handle within this week for sure. Now coming to my Insta handle, it's mmhealthmania. My website is www.mmhealthmania.in, and my name is Megha Mukhija, and my phone number is 9811-851-852. In case you have any question, you can WhatsApp me or call me. And all these information of my basic information will be shared in a graphic in the story after this session by the team. And I'll conclude for today, and whatever leftover questions are there, I have read it and I'll go through them later on as well, and whatever generalized questions are there, I will definitely answer them in the post, or maybe in the following future stories for sure. And thank you so much for being with me. Goodbye. Enjoy your day.